Welcome to the webinar on the Raven Rate Control Module. In an industry where weed resistance has become a real and growing problem, product efficacy is more important than ever before. Meeting and exceeding these expectations requires the latest in application control technology to maximize the efficiency of the product being applied. Retailers, growers, and custom applicators continue to demand greater application control precision with the flexibility to be compatible with many pieces of equipment. So why RCM? The Raven Rate Control Module is the next generation in precision application rate control that meets and exceeds these demands. It uses Raven's innovative control algorithms to make the most precise application controller on the market today. The RCM fits a variety of application, up to 5 product liquid and granular control, NH3 including AccuFlow HP+, air cart and generic applicators. 16 section control eliminates expensive skips and overlaps for all phases of your operation, from spraying to NH3 and fertilizer application to planting. So what do we offer with the Raven Rate Control Module? We basically have 4 different types of application offerings. The first is our air cart generic applicator, which you can see is 1 to 4 products, up to 16 sections, or 5 products, up to 12 sections. Liquid Control machine type offers the ability to use Raven Sidekick Pro ICD, and you also have the option to do a pole type sprayer, self-propelled sprayer, or a general fertilizer tool. We offer the option to go to either 3-wire section valves, 1 product up to 16 sections plus 2 fence rows, with the inclusion of 4 ICD injection pumps on top of that 1 product. And we also have the tank fill monitor. We also offer 2-wire section valve capability, 1 product, 8 2-wire valves, basically 8 boom sections, and 8 section signals for 2-wire valve interface with external modules, 6 sections 9 through 16, plus 2 fence rows. And that also can run up to 4 additional ICD Sidekick Pros. And we also offer our tiered boom options, both direct and external. And you can see both our tiered boom options are 1 product, 10 section with 2 tiers with ICD, and also compatible up to those 4 pumps. And then our external up to 16 sections with 2 tier signals, plus 2 fence rows, also 4 ICD pump capable. So our third offering is AccuFlow HP+. With AccuFlow HP+, it's considered 1 product, and you can add 2 additional products, either 2 liquid products or 2 granular products, or a mix of a liquid and a granular on top of your AccuFlow HP+. In addition to that, you can also add either 2 ICD injection pumps if you're running AccuFlow HP+, plus 2 liquid products. Or you can, if you're just running AccuFlow HP+ and you wanted to, you can add 4 ICD injection pumps and not add a liquid or granular product with that. Currently offer 6-section NH3 with a total of 14 sections, and we will be offering in the future a 10-section NH3 option with the AccuFlow HP+ mode. What the 14 total sections option means is basically your first 6 sections are assigned to your AccuFlow HP products. So you'd have the remainder of that, 8 sections, to assign to the 2 additional products. So if you wanted to run a single liquid on top of the AccuFlow HP, you can run 8 sections with that other liquid product. But if you add 2 liquid products, you'd have to split those 8 sections into 4 sections each, or a total of 8 additional sections. So we can only have 14 total sections with AccuFlow HP+. And the first 6 are always associated with the NH3 product. Our fourth machine type offering is the pole behind spreader, or a self-propelled spreader, which is capable of 4 products, 4 sections with spinner RPM control. The RCM is incredibly user-friendly. We've simplified the setup, introduced integrated help content, and added advanced diagnostic information to quickly identify issues and reduce costly downtime. Customizable user interfaces give the operator the flexibility to see and control what fits their needs. And configurable machine profiles allow the RCM to easily move between machines and implements without resetting machine configurations. The RCM is compatible with many ISOBUS virtual terminals on the market, including the Viper 4 and Viper 4 Plus from Raven. Now we're just going to get into some basic system drawings of what the Raven Rate Control Module looks like. So here you can see this is your basic rate control module from Raven as a kit. What comes in the kit? It is the Raven rate control module, and you have the rate control harness. With this, it is Gen 3 cabling, so you would need a Gen 3 IBBC harness. And if you're only running one Raven rate control module, you would put a terminator on the connector that says 2-CAN terminator harness. Then we have a 47 pin that would go down towards the product harnessing. So this is your basic Raven rate control module kit. These are the part numbers that we offer for the main components of the Raven rate control module. First, your kit, which was in the previous picture, the control module plus the main harness, is part number the 117-7100-003. The ECU itself is the next line down. And then that main harness cable is that 115-7301-011. Important notes: Raven will not support third-party cabling with RCM systems. We have to use Raven Gen 3 systems. The only exception to this is if using a John Deere system with John Deere main harnessing. We do have cabling available to tie into John Deere ISO factory harnessing. And you have questions on that, please feel free to contact us or contact your Raven dealer for more information on the John Deere cabling. The single product CAN and ISOBus and dual product nodes will be phasing out. That means basically if you currently have a Raven ISO product controller node and then part number -006, those will be slowly being phased out. We do still support our products, but that 006 ISOBus product node will be eventually phased out, and the Raven rate control module will be our new go-to. And of course, RCM is released. It was released December of last year, and it is ready for orders and shipments. So the RCM system overview. Like we've stated previously, it does have a new user interface, new hardware platform and cabling, more advanced diagnostic features. You can stack multiple RCM ECUs on a system when paired with either a Viper 4 or Viper 4 Plus. Getting into more of the technical aspect of like air carts, drills where you might need maybe 2 RCMs for multiple products. Then of course with our liquid application features, we got liquid single product control up to 16 sections with the addition of adding 4 ICD injection pumps and also tank fill monitoring. NH3 product control, like I said, AccuFlow HP Plus with additional 2 add-on products, or you can substitute injection pumps to that, or add 2 injection pumps ICD. Then we also have our dry fertilizer features, which spreader air cart profile edition, 4 product application control up to 16 section control, bin chaining, and then spinner RPM control. Now we are going to go into some basic RCM system configurations as they look on a Raven Viper 4 field computer. So we will go through a generic spreader, 1 product, and a generic liquid, 1 product. Okay, so here we are now in the Viper 4 RCM configuration screens, and what we are going to do is first set up a liquid single product generic profile. Once you first fire up the system and go into your VT screen, you're going to see this option. This is the RCM initial setup where you are going to choose a new profile. And also in here we can store up to 8 individual profiles. So you have many options. Once you set a profile, if you do decide to move either the field computer or the RCM to another machine, you can simply go in here, select that profile. So now we are going to actually create a new profile. And once you highlight new profile, we back arrow. And here you can see it says new profile. So we're going to press the check mark. Okay, so once the VT loads, this is the beginning of our wizard configuration as we walk through it. So now we are going to name our profile, and typically you name this whatever you would feel that you want to name it. I'm just going to simply put in sprayer. And once done typing in, hit the check mark. And now comes the part where you choose your machine type. And with the Raven RCM module, we have multiple machine types in here that you can choose from. And as we stated when we went through the intro, the differences between these profiles. So this being a liquid machine, I'm going to choose pull behind sprayer. Now once you choose your machine configuration, back arrow out, and now you're going to enter your application width. And this is a new feature with the RCM, where before we used to do inches. You can either choose feet or inches. We are going to keep it in feet for this exercise. In here, you got the option where you can drop this down to either choose feet or inches. And once you have your application width, you simply press the next button. Now we get into our application mode. In application mode, as you can see, we have 4 different options for liquid setups. The basic liquid, you got liquid tiered boom, which the tiered is basically if you have 2 physical booms on the machine, you would choose a tiered boom option with boom signal drivers. Liquid constant flow would be continuous flow for like agitation, but we're going to simply click liquid. If you have any questions on the different application modes, you can see underneath here it gives you a brief description of what the mode is that you chose. So just for an example, I'm going to change the application mode to a liquid continuous flow. And here you will see the description of what liquid continuous flow is. So if you have any questions, you can definitely check out that information. It will help you point you in the right direction on what your machine is. Once you choose your application mode, just page forward. And here we will enter our number of sections. You also have options for the section valve types, either 3-wire or 2-wire. If you want all your sections equal length, you would have that box checked, or if you're using fence rows, you can also enable fence rows from this page. And once again, if you have any questions, we got the help menu button here, which I'll click on, and then you can determine if you have questions on the number of sections. It just says please enter the number of sections you have on the implement. And the section valve type, give you the description between the 2 and 3-wire. And on for any other questions you may have on that page in the setup wizard. So here we're going to type in the max number of sections, which is 16 for a liquid sprayer. We're going to keep it at 3-wire, just because typically all Raven boom valves are 3-wire boom valves. We are going to choose equal sections width, and we're not going to choose fence rows in this instance, but if you do have fence rows, you can have up to 2 extra fence rows on top of the 16 sections. And as you can see, since I chose equal section widths, all my sections have been evenly distributed across the entire boom, so 5 foot each section. And once again, if you do need to choose to, you can configure these section widths to match it to your actual boom. And here, since I actually have a ISO switch box on the system, it is asking for boom switch association. If you do not have an ISO switch box, you will not see this screen, but since I do have an ISO switch box, this is basically how I'm going to leave my sections configured for my physical switches. This next page is your section summary. So this is going to tell you your overall width, which is 80 foot. We have 1 product. Then the blue row is the liquid section width. Then you would move down to what driver that is coming out of the ECU. So this would be harnessing. So we got 1 through 16 for section drivers. Then the bottom one would be the switch number, or how it's associated to switches if you are using a physical switch box. If you do not have a physical switch box, those would be labeled 1 through 16, and you'd be using on-screen switches at the time. So here you choose if you have a pressure sensor installed on the machine. Typically, you usually use 1 pressure transducer, but these are optional. They no way affect the product capabilities of the RCM. Just basic feedback, and you can have up to 2 pressure sensors. And since I do not have one physically connected, I'm going to say none, so I don't get any warnings when we go through this. And here you would choose if you have either an agitation system or a flow return installed, basically what those are. If we have questions, we click on the question mark. And here again, it will tell you what a flow return is, and if it's installed, or how agitation would be. And since we have none of those hooked up, we are going to not check those and proceed. So here's where you get into the meat and potatoes of your system and your control capabilities. Your control valve type, just like a normal Raven system, if you're familiar with Raven controllers, you're going to choose your valve type that is on the machine, whether it be standard, fast close, fast, PWM close. Typically, none is not selected. But for this exercise, we're going to just keep it at standard. Valve response rate, and these are changes. If you're used to older Raven control modules, the RCM uses a different sort of algorithm in order to control. Instead of a valve cal, we now use valve response rate. It's a value of 1 to 100. It's basically how aggressive you want the valve to be. So at 50, we're right in the middle, not too aggressive, not too under aggressive. But for ease of tunability, we have decided to go this route. It's a lot simpler to tune and adjust the system to get it to operate exactly how you would like. Your control deadband, that is the percent away from target at which the valve will stop making adjustments. We typically keep that lower just so it snaps right on rate and tries to get there without overreacting. If you have that too far away, it might take longer to get to rate, and these are definitely something you can go back in and play with just to get the system tuned to your liking. Control effort percentage, and these are in percentages, is basically the amount of force or power that we're sending to the valve to get it to respond. So the higher that is, the more power we're sending to the valve, which you can typically keep at 35. And of course, we got our flow meter calibration. Your flow meter calibration is found on your flow meter tag. We're going to use a standard 720 flow meter calibration. And you can notice the flow meter and pulses per unit. Typically, all Raven flow meters are 10 gallons. You also have different options here, depending on what flow meter you're using. And here you can add how much capacity you have currently in the tank and what the current tank level is. You're going to just type in a nice even number of 1,000, saying we got our tank is capable of holding 1,000 gallons. And our current capacity is also 1,000, so we're full here. And if you want to establish any sort of alarm telling you if you get to a certain amount in the tank to send an alarm, you can definitely do that. One other thing with RCM, we also have tank fill monitor capabilities. So we also offer a tank fill monitor, so when you fill up the tank, you can see where you're at on this screen. Here's our preset rate values. Basically, we need to enter at least rate 1 in here, so I will enter 10 for rate 1. Rate 2 and 3 are optional, but I just like to have information filled out, so I will progress up to 15 for rate 2. And then rate 3, I'm going to put 20. Rate bump, basically how if you want the rate to increase a certain percentage when you either hit the up or down arrow to adjust the rates, you can put a rate bump in here. So with 2, every time I increase rate manually, it should bump up 2 gallons per acre. Then our rate selection, predefined or RX, is our current selection. If you have questions on these, they are also in the manual as far as what each one means. Predefined or RX basically means we are going to use the predefined values that we filled in for rate. Rate bump, that's if you manually want to increase or decrease rate on the fly. You would have up and down arrows on the main run screen. And VT, rate entry, is basically running rates from a VT, which currently works with the Viper 4. So you can change and adjust rate from the Viper 4 widgets. Okay, and also on this page, you can see that display smoothing is check marked. It basically will buffer out any sort of rate bounce that we might get within 3% of target, just to keep things smooth and even. You also got a decimal shift option if you're putting ultra low rates down. Maybe you want a couple extra decimal points, so you can add that or expand that to up to 2 extra decimal points for any sort of rate application. Go to the next page. This is more into the alarm, so this is our off rate alarm percentage away from target, which you want the alarm to sound. And then also you have a minimum flow rate, gallons per minute, kind of like a low limit setting. You want to figure out if you know of a certain gallon per minute flow that your nozzles are rated at. You don't want it to drop below that. Maintain a good spray pattern. You usually want to put a gallon per minute value in there so that the control valve will not shut down to a point past that, and always continuously allow that many gallons per minute through the system at any given time. And after you complete the wizard, you'll get your setup summary. It kind of explains exactly what you did. You just verify if everything is correct on this. If you see something you're missing, you can always back arrow and go back to the pages and re-enter that information. And then once you press on the next page to complete and finalize your setup summary, you will see some errors just basically saying, hey, we are reloading the object pool to make changes for everything that you've just done. So in just a few minutes, it will pop back up. And here is your run screen for the rate control module after you get it set up. Basically, as you can see, you got your product 1 currently in off mode, your target rate, and this is actual rate. And of course you can see your boom setup summary down here, the boom sections, the tank being full since we put 1,000 gallons in there. And then basically, if you want to enable product, we hit the button here, then you turn your master on and you're ready to go. A few other things I'd like to point out from this page are the tools on the side, and just wanted to show how configurable the run screen is. So if you go into your system settings, press on display setup menu, here is where you can change what you would like to see on your run screen. Each one of these windows that says selected readout or press to select, you can adjust based off this list. So just some good information to go through if you want to configure it to read whatever it is on this list that you would like to see on your main screen. And that concludes a basic setup wizard for a single product. We are going to now configure a single product granular system with a spinner. Okay, so now what we are going to do is we're going to create a new profile from this page here. So if you want to create a new profile, you simply click on your gear icon, which is Tools. First tab, Applicator Setup. Here you can edit your current profile, but since we are going to create a new granular profile, we are going to go change New. Once we get to this page, select Profile. We are going to choose New Profile, back arrow, then check mark. Okay, now we are going to set up our granular spreader profile. Simply going to name this one Spreader. Check mark when done. And machine type, we are going to make this basically a spreader spinner machine. So we're going to choose pull behind spreader, back arrow. Application width, of course, this can be in feet or inches, like I stated in the last go around. So we're going to do 80-foot spread width. We'll page forward. And number of products. So basically, with this machine configuration we are going to do a single product, which means basically one bin, one bed. And you keep that at 1, even though if you're controlling spinners, we're going to still only show as one product. So this number of products is per bed. Since we are going to be controlling a spinner on this machine, we are going to choose Enable Fan Spinner RPM Control. And as you can see here, our products that we have showing up, since we only chose one bed, we are going to click here and choose what it is that we are applying. Right now we're just going to say granular fertilizer. And as you can see, product 2 is your RPM spinner fan, which is not selectable. Product 1 granular mode application. So here you will see the different application modes that we can use for a granular system. Granular full width is like a Gran 1, system, single belt, single encoder. Your granular RPM compensated. You really probably wouldn't see this much unless you're running an omni-seed system or something with section shutoffs. Granular RPM compensated would be considerable to a Gran 5 machine. Then you got granular RPM maintained, which is going to be like your Gran 2, Gran 3 air boom machines with 2 sections. Now ask us to make a selection. Since we are running a single belt, single encoder, we are going to choose granular full width. If you have any questions on what these stand for, you can definitely click on one, back arrow out. You'll see the description of what that application mode represents. A granular full width is comparable to a Gran 1 system, which you would choose on our legacy controllers. And here we're going to select the associated sections. Since I have an ISO switch box, I got one section, so switch number 1. Here again, we have our section summary. We are showing that we're going to be spreading 80 foot, one product. Granular section width is 80 foot. We got one driver and one switch. And here you will see our RPM sensor number 1 is associated with product number 1. Now we get into our granular control valve type. Of course, you can select the drop-down box. Our two options are fast close or PWM close. We're going to stay with PWM close. Valve response rate, again, a value of 1 to 100, 50% being in the middle, so it's not too aggressive and not too lazy as far as trying to get to rate. Control deadband percentage, again, is the percent away from target, which the control valve will stop making any sort of adjustment. And since we are using a PWM, it's going to ask for a coil frequency. Typically 60 Hertz is default for Raven. Your PWM high and low limits, a value of 100% to 1% for low limit. This is a bit of a change from our old way where we had a value from 1 to 253, but now we are at percentages. So 1 to 100% change there. And of course your PWM startup, if you get to a certain percentage, the belt starts to run and you make note of that, you can always come in here and say, I want my startup to be 40%, so the belt will always start at 40% PWM duty cycle, which might speed things up once you first kick it on. Now with granular system, we always need a product density, which is the weight of the actual product, pounds per cubic feet. I'm just going to type in 50. And spreader constant, each machine should have a set spreader constant based off the gate height, gate width, the length the belt travels in one revolution of the encoder. So if you're not sure what your spreader constant is, we do have ways to calculate that, but definitely check with your equipment manufacturer for recommended spreader constants based off the machine characteristics. We're just going to enter in a value of 700, and this can range anywhere from 30 to 10,000 or more. And pulses per revolution, so this is the encoder count that you're using on your machine. Some typical pulses per revolution are 36, 180, or 360. Certain machines have different pulse encoders. I'm just going to go with a Raven standard and use a 180 count encoder. And always remember, you do have the help menu here to give you information on what all that stuff is and where to find it. And here again, you can set up the product tank capacity. We're going to type in 5,000. Current tank level, we are going to also put that maxed out, 5,000. And a low tank alarm, we'll just type in, say, 200 pounds so that the alarm will sound once it gets to 200 pound capacity in the tank. And if you had a bin sensor, this is where you check bin sensor. But since we do not have a bin sensor on our setup here, I'm not going to check that. You can also enable an alarm if you want the alarm to pop up and display if you're at that low tank level. And once again, we need to fill in at least rate 1 in order to proceed through the calibration wizard. So I'm going to type in 100 pounds per acre. And rate 2, I'm going to just kind of step these up incrementally. But you don't absolutely have to type in rate 2 or rate 3. These are just kind of presets. So if you have a couple different rates, you can definitely type them in here so it's easy to swap when you're in the job running. Rate bump. That's 10 pounds per acre. If you want to change your rate selection from predefined to the rate bump option, and you can definitely do that in the job as well, changing your rate selection. Of course, we got display smoothing set on just so we get a nice even display within our tolerance. And then once again, you can check your decimal shift up to 2 decimal points if need be. And once again, here we got our product 1 granular off rate alarm. You can adjust your off rate percentage to show an alarm. And also, if you have a shaft sensor, you can definitely check that. Just in case that shaft would stop turning, you'd get an alarm as well if that is installed. And product 2, this is our spinner. So our spinner, we have the same options for control valve type as the granular, which is kind of a change from what we're used to for spinner. We are going to run with RCM in a closed mode style, so either fast close or PWM close for spinner. And the reason being is the way the RCM works with its boom sense from the main run screen. We only have the one switch up on the screen to turn on or turn off that spinner. So as soon as you turn it on, it's going to run. You shut it off. We want that spinner to shut off physically that way. And I'll explain that as we get past the wizard setup here. And of course, you, like product number 1, you also have your valve response rate and control deadband percentage for your spinner product. And then again, you got all your frequencies and your limits and your PWM startup, so you can adjust that however you want your spinner to react. In RPM calibration of pulses per revolution, this would be for your RPM sensor. However many pulses the sensor reads as the spinner rotates. So if you got, say, 4 points that the sensor is reading, we're going to enter in 4 here. And also you got your rate options for your spinner. So we're going to enter in 700 for 700 RPM. And I'm not going to worry about filling out rate 2 or rate 3 because I want to keep it consistent and just always run at 700. And of course, we also got alarms. So if the spinner drops below a certain RPM, it will sound at a certain percentage. And once again, we get to our setup summary, which kind of walks you through what you chose. Okay, and then after the calibration is complete and the VT reloads its instance, we're going to come up back to the main run screen where you'll see your product 1 being your bed or bin and product 2 being your spinner. So with product 2, our spinner, as I was stating earlier, the reason that we have it in either PWM close or fast close is because the enable button right here, once you turn that on, and you enable your master, the spinners are going to spin. And then in order to shut off your spinner, you basically just take this from off to on, and that will shut off your spinner. There's no physical switch or on-screen switch associated with the spinner product on RCM. But your product 1, of course, you got either a physical switch or on-screen switch. Since I got the ISO switch box, I got a physical switch, which I can enable. But product 2 will not have a physical switch associated. So the only way to turn the product on is by pressing the enable button here. Now, once you get your VT or your RCM set up, if you are using a Viper 4, the next thing that we're going to want to do in order to get the boom association, as you see your machine profile, the red boom on the back side means that we do not have a boom set up on the Viper 4. So in order to get a boom set up, we're going to hit the node with the gears. We're going to choose our pull type spreader. And this is something that you would set up beforehand. As far as your cart, we go to the second tab. And if you already have another boom listed in here from maybe a previous profile, you simply just hit the garbage can. Then we're going to hit the plus. And it'll ask us which boom group we want. Since we got the spreader, we're going to choose the spreader section group number 1 and OK. And that will pull the boom setup from the RCM. And once that displays, we can basically green arrow back. And after you add your boom group and you green arrow out, your red boom is now off your implement, and that has pulled everything and got everything correct between the RCM and the Viper 4. And one thing to keep in mind, if you do have the RCM module on another VT, you always want to verify that, make sure that that VT is also set up according to the RCM boom configuration. We just want to make sure those match. So however the other VT is that you're using, if it's Ag Leader Integra, John Deere 2630, you just want to make sure that your boom setup is the same as the RCM boom setup.